Greetings, and yet again, greetings, everyone. You already know who it is, but I don't mind giving you a slight reminder. It's your best friend, your good Judy, your next door neighbor, your niece, your nephew, your cousin, and I've recently been promoted to great auntie. This is Norman J. Liverpool IV, and I want to thank you for tuning in to another edition of What's the LGBT. Listen, y'all, tonight's show, baby, I've been waiting all week for this, and I know my special guests have. So we are going to move through the things that we need to move through so that we can get on to what we came to do. So first, I do want to say, I have my 5-week mentorship program. You missed the September enrollment. However, I will have another enrollment in October, and that will be the last cohort for this year. So stay tuned for more information on that, as well as you can visit me on the web at www.overthetopliving.com, and you can look at some of our other packages and programs. So I want to say that the views and opinions expressed by the guests of What's the LGBT are their own and do not necessarily represent Over the Top Living or Norman J. Liverpool IV. So speaking of which, I'm always coming up with some new ideas, and I am so excited to tell you about this new idea, which will be launching next Wednesday. I am so excited about the Council of Gunkles, and this is going to be a monthly show, and we are going to come together with the original Quarantini Time Council. And so that's going to be me and 3 and 4 of my closest friends, and it's going to be very much set up like The View. So we are going to do roundtable discussions once per month, and we are going to start this Wednesday. I am so excited. So stay tuned, because we're going to have an email address that you can send your questions, comments, all of that too. We're going to discuss it all, and nothing is off limits. I want to thank my sponsors very quickly. They are having a Taco Tuesday, an infused Taco Tuesday. I got to turn the banner off so you can get the information at the bottom. This is being brought to you by AJ Soul Kitchen and Hungry Hustle. They're doing an infused Taco Tuesday next Tuesday on the 29th from 3 to 9. If you are interested, please reach out to the Instagram handles that are listed at the bottom of the screen, and they will provide more information. I believe they're going to have shrimp tacos, they're going to have carne asada, and they're also going to have chicken. So yeah, definitely reach out to @HungryHustle420 or AJ Soul Kitchen for more information on that event. Also, I have to pull it up, honey. Avion Mogul and Ty the Promoter, they bring to you Drip Thursdays, which is an upscale LGBTQ plus event taking place here in Las Vegas every Thursday, and it is reservation only. So if you want to get on the list, text reserve to 702-482-7207. Awesome. Now we're going to take a minute and take a look at our comments. Who do we have here? Oh, yes. Thank you. I want to shout out Hungry Hustle because they sent me this wonderful shirt, the Homopreneur. That's me. I see it. Thank you so much. Oh, hey, Banir. Now, listen, Banir, that's a powerhouse y'all got to watch out for. So anyway, y'all, we're going to skip the artist spotlight for this week because I want to give as much time as I can to my special guest. So before I introduce them, I'd like to read an excerpt from the section Find from the book Hide and Seek, There's No Truth in Fear. God pulled back the veil of lies and revealed one truth that holds no fear, shame, or pain, only love. My family did not reject me, my lovers did not deny me, and others did not think less of me for being gay. I did. It was me. And it had always been with me accepting, then rejecting myself, and in constant battle with self-worth, perpetuated by harmful words and actions of people who should have or simply didn't know better. I often believed I was one failure away from losing myself altogether. I had succumbed to fear and empowered others with the choice only I could make, loving myself. My faith gives me hope, and truth gives me peace. The truth is, I've always been enough. I am special. I am a gift. I am Todd Kane. And as it turns out, the miracle that I was hoping for. So, without further ado, please allow me to bring on my special guest. Wait, I have to bring my little slide. Okay. Todd Kane has spent over 30 years developing the gifts and talents of creative people around the world. He's a proven leader of individuals and teams in both the military and the private sector. Todd has mastered the transformative power of truth. As a leader, educator, and artist in the highest level of industry, Todd has served as a captain in the United States Army, deployed in theaters of operations around the world. He was a director of global operations for an international manufacturing company and trained national teams of over 300 agents for an insurance powerhouse. As an educator, Todd has served as National Accounts Education Specialist for a global hair care and color company, reaching 6,000 professionals a year with his creativity and passion. He also created and served as the director of international and nonprofit organization To Conquer Cancer. As a father of two, Todd acknowledges the privilege and responsibility to teach his children and others how to successfully navigate a world fooled by fear. Truth never loses its power, only its voice. And therefore, now is the time to be self-aware and full of integrity as we find and celebrate our truth. My next special guest is Karrington Valenzuela. Karrington is a 32-year-old native living in Arizona native living in Phoenix. When not working as a chief of staff of an injury law firm, Karrington is either busy advocating for equal rights, working as a personal trainer, or entertaining the masses as Nevaeh McKenzie, aka #FitFish. So without further ado, please welcome to, my stage, Mr. Todd Kane and Karrington Valenzuela.
Hello. How are you, Norman?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Auntie.
Yes. All right, we have one more comment in here. Oh, lovely. All right, so I hear a little feedback. Let me see where it's coming from. Okay, got it. So, Todd, I want you, first of all, to introduce yourself, but I want you to introduce yourself and answer the question, what does it mean to hide?
Oh, well, thanks for the introduction. Wow. I'm pretty important, it seems like. It feels like a world away, when I spent a lot of my life hiding in those roles, not really embracing the fact that I am a gay man. And I think we all hide in some ways and still do, no matter whether we're healthy or we have challenges. To me, it's about not being authentic. It's about not using your voice, not being heard, not being acknowledged. And that's a sad thing today. Nobody should hide.
All right. Well, I'm excited about this conversation and for the audience to learn more about you and your journey. All right, Karrington, introduce yourself and let us know, what does it mean to you to hide?
As Norman stated, my name is Karrington Valenzuela, also known as Nevaeh McKenzie. Really excited to be here and discuss Todd's book and what we all experienced in the past couple of weeks. For me, hiding, the definition is one to seek refuge, one to seek solace. And so I think that hiding is a very subjective term in regards to what you're trying to do. If you're trying to seek refuge, then that comes with peace. But then there can also be a certain type of hiding that does not come with peace. It comes with hostility and shame and anger. So I think it's a matter of how you wish to interpret it and what your intentions are when you do take that time to hide.
All right, so we're just going to kick it off just like this then. All right, got it. Okay. So, Todd, I want to kick off the conversation I want you to explain what you meant in the book where you were talking about the crafted version of the truth.
Well, we all have a story. We all do. And most of us spend a lot of our time focusing on the past and the future and not in our present. crafting that story allows us to hide in many ways. And like Karrington said, I want to add to that hiding also a level of anxiety and a sense of being on alert. When you're hiding, you don't want to be found. And a lot of us in the LGBTQ plus community have done an exceptional job of hiding, oftentimes suppressing our truth and silencing our voices and robbing us of our integrity. It really is a shame that we don't or can't show up fully, authentically, every time, everywhere we are. A lot of that is our choice, of course, but let's face it, we grew up with a lot of words that made us feel less than. And even today, whether you're watching TV or a Facebook feed or something else, there's always something hitting a trigger in us that makes us feel less than. It is our responsibility, and it is our right, our gift from God to be exactly who we were created to be, in his image, perfect and wonderfully made. I just think that it's important for us to, well, put down those facades. And if we can't put down that facade, whether it's at work or with our friends or with our family, find a new batch of people to be with, because it's just too much work. It's exhausting.
You know, that's a very good point about finding a new group and making sure that we have the support, that people are speaking positivity into our lives, that are lifting us up, that want to see us do better and see us be better.
And love us right where we're at, just as we are.
Yeah, exactly right where we're at. That's so powerful. There was someone I was talking to earlier today, and I can't even remember who it was. I talked to so many people today, but they had mentioned that same thing. Oh, it was Alexander James. I didn't talk to him. He posted a video about it, and he was talking about being the way, just loving people exactly where they are, with their whatever limitations, whatever they can't give us, whatever, that's fine. Love them right where they are. And I think that that's an amazing, amazing point.
Well, and to that point, they can't give you what you need. They can't even give you what you want. It all comes down to you. I in the book I was talking about, in fact, I finished the Audible book today. 3 days, 8 hours a day. It was exhausting, laughing, crying, screaming, yelling, frustration, thinking, God, who wrote this? But one part that stuck out that you just said, I remember talking about how exhausting it was to be an imposter, and how nice it was to finally, if not receive what I wanted from other people, but to realize the only gift I was asking for was the one thing I could only give myself, and that was to love myself.
I love that. I love that. So for those of you that don't know, Todd obviously is the author of the book, but Karrington and I were in a book club, and we spent the last 4 weeks going through this book. So Karrington, can you talk a little bit about what that was like for you? You know, even in the group you shared how some of the material was so likened to experience that you had. So talk a little bit about what that process was like for you reading the book.
Yeah, you know, we the last month when we took this journey on together, I've done a lot of reading on self-help books lately, and I've transitioned my literature to anti-racism literature and understanding Black Lives Matter. So when we got to Todd's book, I was more or less expecting that kind of same cheesy rah-rah, you know, find your inner strength and yada, yada, yada. And you know, I'm more than supportive. I was happy to do it. But I think what we all got right out the gate, and the first book club meeting we had, we all walked into it like, sis, what is this book? Because we just were not sure. And so it definitely was a very much a perfect timing for me to read this book, because it was a way to also reflect on my upbringing and what it is that I give as a gay man to my community, as a drag queen to my community, and now soon to be personal trainer to my community. So it was definitely a roller coaster ride of emotions. With every page, it just seemed like we were, as soon as Todd was up here, you know, he would do something that would just be like, girl, no, why?
Yeah.
And so it again, it from the childhood up until the last page, there was just so much that resonated with me, because I've always understood that gay men have such a struggle growing up, depending on, you know, how they were raised. But it's been a universal tumultuous time to be raised as a gay kid. And so to have to read on paper some of the experiences and emotions and rationalizations that I had brought up a lot of emotions and things that I thought I had kind of gotten over, but then reading about it and understanding that someone else had also shared the same journey. Obviously the roads are paved very differently, but it is the same journey. Was it was comforting. It was comforting and really just transformative for me. And like I said, could not have come at a better time with regards to what's happening on right now with the world and its lack of compassion. I think to hone in on an LGBTQ experience and be like, okay, I can now take this book and what I've learned from it and move it forward with my own experience and my own journey.
I love that. And I think for me, the book, like you said, had like these peaks and valleys. Like it was almost like being on an emotional roller coaster, because
Yes.
when you finally felt like, okay, I feel like I know where we're going, baby, that detour hit. And then okay, so
just
right.
like,
So it's like, okay,
wine.
right. So it's like, okay, so now we're going this way. And then it's like, okay, cute. I see where we're going. Boom, bitch. Now you're going back over this way. And so it literally, I think that was one of the things like initially was challenging for me,
Right.
is because I'm like, I'm feeling all these emotions like from
Right.
one page to the next. And so Todd, I want to ask you, walk us through the emotional process of writing this book.
Well, first off, thank you for saying those things, because I didn't set out to write a book for anyone. I went to a retreat with some friends and I was just going to hang out. And next thing you know, I'm crying and hammering out this book. And I think you found out that a couple months later, when I found out some things that happened in my life, that everything changed. What I thought was my truth and what I was hiding from and what I was kind of creating this life on wasn't even true. It was perhaps worse. And I just, instead of abandoning the book, instead of leaving it, I decided to write it and to weave in this new truth. And I think that really is the beauty of it, because I didn't set out to tell you something. Who am I to tell you anything? But what I can do is show up authentically, with integrity and in faith, and share my experiences with you. Not hide them, not suppress them, not advance to them with age and economic status and all those things, but to share them with you, because the lessons are really what's important. So many of us that have gotten along this far, I'm 52 years old. I was a teenager in the 80s when AIDS hit, and it was terrifying. We didn't drink from water fountains. We didn't touch doorknobs. Oh my God, we sure as heck didn't want to be one of those people, right? In fact, I didn't even want to ask questions. Even if you asked questions about AIDS, then why are you asking? So there was misinformation, disinformation, fear, and everything else. And I made a choice back then. I knew I liked boys and I knew I liked girls. I knew it in my heart. And I made a choice. And I felt fortunate that I could love heterosexually. And I went that route, married a woman, had a beautiful life, beautiful kids, everything. But like I said, truth never loses its power, only voice. And I silenced that part of me. So what I chose to do in this book was to share with you the lessons that I lived from age 5 to 50. And it was divine. I mean, there was no reason to tell you how to think or how to feel. In fact, I instinctively left room for you. I didn't tell every detail. I didn't cross every T and dot every I. I just said, there's a car accident. You filled in. You said that there was blood and there was guts and there was fire and there was 10 cars or 5 cars. It was your life. And that is what I meant to have happen. I think it's the beauty of it is that you connect with it and it brings out whatever it is that you're harboring, whatever you're hiding places. And I didn't set out to do that. That was me and God. I don't take credit for it. I just lived the life, and I know that that's part of my purpose.
One of the things you mentioned about the way the book is written, it is very much written for us to put ourselves in it. And I remember, Karrington, and I'm sure that you can speak to this, is there's several parts in the book where I like literally envision as if it was happening for me. There was something right in the beginning, and you all know what I'm talking about. And I was like, wait, did that happen to me? Like because I literally felt like I was right there in there. But what I want to shift to is I want to talk about how we as gay men hide in toxic relationships. And I'm going to ask Karrington to kick this part off because I know Todd he's already getting hot. So what are your thoughts on that about how we hide within these toxic relationships?
So, honestly, I have not been in many relationships. I think I've only had 2 relationships that were longer than 4 months. Unfortunately, circumstances where it was drag got in the way. So I think that what I've experienced as a kid, as a teenager, moving away from home, and then leading into my adult life, I can't really say that I have experienced a toxic relationship because I am very fiercely independent and very fiercely self-aware of what my boundaries are, what I will and will not put up with. So I've been really unsuccessful in that field. But from my understanding, through my experiences with the gay community as a drag entertainer, because a lot of people do come up to drag queens and think of them as beacons of guidance, and they give us all this information, very personal information at times, because they're a little inebriated, they're feeling vulnerable. So I think that there is a exponential amount of toxicity in homosexual relationships because of the fact that, like Todd references in the book, gay men growing up as children and as teens and adults, we have gay porn. And, growing up, I had Queer as Folk, but even then that was so sexually, prominent.
I mean,
that was, there is, we really don't know what it means to form healthy relationships until we reach that emotional mature level to do so. So I think that it's really a plethora of misguided information, a lack of information, a lack of real knowledge. And so I think that can sort of, and the relationships we have with our parents, whether it's shame, whether it's, you can't be who you really truly are, who you wish to be, it can lead to a lot of toxic behaviors. So I think that it's like I said, it's a plethora of a lot of different types of things that we get raised on. And I think it's a huge factor is that lack of information and lack of actual gay history, lack of gay sexual education, so forth and so on.
I love that. I recently spoke on a podcast about that exactly. Yeah. About how, growing up, when you're like in sex ed and stuff, it's, for me, I grew up in a Catholic environment. So it was, you wait till you're married, and that's it. There was no other, it was a man and a woman, you wait till you're married, and that's it. There was no other alternative. And so I sought what I learned about what I wanted to do from TV, from trial and error, from just, there was really no guide or no blueprint. And so that brings me to Todd, because Todd, you have been very open about being a teenager in the 80s. and transitioning all the way to where you are today. So talk to us a little bit about, as gay men, how we hide in these toxic relationships and how it almost becomes comfortable for us.
Well, I want to piggyback on what Karrington said. First off, sex education is not everybody's sex education. I mean, we get the parts right, and everybody gets to put a condom on a banana, but that's it. You know, it's such a double standard for heterosexuals. Many of them, I mean, they're encouraged to have sexual encounters and encouraged to laugh and joke. Their fathers with perhaps the toxic masculinity. You know, do this, do that, son, try it, whatever. And they're encouraged to try those things. We are not. And we often enter into adulthood emotionally and sexually behind. In fact, many of our first experiences, we're lucky to be ready mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and anyway, for our first sexual experience. A lot of them are suppressed and hidden, and what feels good at the moment all of a sudden is turned into shame and something bad. And so we carry that with us. Then all of a sudden we hit adulthood, where we have this freedom and we have a means and a way, but we've missed that first kiss. We've missed that handhold. We've missed that ability to navigate through an argument or a bad crush. We don't get that. And now all of a sudden we're thrown into adulthood, and we have sex apps and we have bars with posters and videos and everything else. And it's just like an over-sexualization of everything that we desire and want. And let's face it, sex apps and pornography sites, they don't care. They give you everything at once so that you grab onto something and stay with it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a trap. And it's, you can't blame us for wanting that. I mean, we've been suppressed for so long. So here we are, emotionally behind, mentally behind, spiritually, everything behind. And all of a sudden we're overwhelmed with all of this, like a child on a freeway. So we're already behind. Now you get into the gay dating scene, and now you fall prey to people who are like you, other people that are kind of lost, other people that are wondering and seeking and maybe lacking something. There's commiseration, there's collaboration, there's conflict and crash and calamity. And I think we were just kind of started on the wrong foot. I, on the other hand, was lucky. I was taught to love by a woman. I was married. I had kids. I went through the whole heteronormative lifestyle. I came out at 32, 33, and then bam, I was in it. A white man with means and all the time he wanted. It was a dangerous situation. Now, I had wanted that lifestyle for so long. I had suppressed it for so long. Who was I going to find? Who was looking for me? The same person that I was, someone just like me. And it's like, bam, no rationale, no guidelines, no whatever. And let's face it, we pick and choose the rules that we want. Look, integrity, oh my God, trust, respect, they're not unique to heterosexual or homosexual relationships, but we seem to think that we can just make whatever relationship we want. We can pick and choose whatever thing we want because we're gay and we get it now. It's our choice, it's our chance, it's our lives, it's our way. Yay, pride. Listen, in intimacy, integrity, all those things, they're the same no matter what. And I think we just get lost in the idea that we just can have it all now because we couldn't have any of it back then.
Well, thank you so much for that, Todd. I did just receive an email with a question for you. We're going to come back to you. I want to read a comment that was here by Ariana Cortez. And it says, I think we are groomed by the community at such a young age that we are sex and our bodies and our looks. We aren't taught to look at people for who they are, but how they look. How can people have healthy relationship here if you are taught to choose mostly in an outer appearance? Then also Daniel Bakley, who is part of my Council of Gunkles, who will be on next Wednesday, says, I miss the old fashioned getting to know someone and that first kiss. Overwhelmed is an understatement. You know, I feel the same way. And just speaking from my personal experience in hiding in toxic relationships, it's almost as if I was scared to be alone or to like rest with just being chill for a minute and just being with myself. So Karrington, as someone you said you've been single and not had a lot of relationships, how has that like affected you in terms of things that hiding, things that we're talking about? Because you're a single guy, how does that play into your life?
Yeah, so I've been single for the last 8, going on 9 years, and I've gone on dates, but they just never seem to go anywhere past date 1. So I definitely love that old-fashioned hand holding and then leading up to the first kiss. But I would say that my fierce independence with that has brought me to a space in myself where I am comfortable being alone. I enjoy being my alone time, and I've grown to really truly love who I am and love the life that I've built. And I would love to share my journey with someone and support each other, but it's not dependent on my successes at all whatsoever. So with that, I will say that my drag performing, when I first started coming out to the scene at 21, I came straight from a household where I left because of the tension that my family and I had when I came out. And so I moved on to live the life that I wanted to have. And so I moved out, and I looked to drag as a very spiritual journey. And my journey as Nevaeh Mackenzie has brought out the best in Karrington, because when I left, I was so angry and so distrustful and so hurt by the people that I grew up to know and love. And so it took a long time. It took a long time, but I think that getting behind that persona and being this other person that was loved and adored and got their frustrations out in shows and listened to music and connected with it and made it their own. It's definitely gratifying when you come to understand that you can have both ways. You can be Nevaeh Mackenzie and still love and still find love, and still be Karrington and find love and love the people that you're around and create the mass appeal that you have. And that's also folded over into my advocacy. And now it's evolving into my personal training. So I think that with these evolutionary steps in my life, there is a sense of hiding when regards to that refuge and that peace. And so I look to hiding as a way to seek silence and seek peace and step away from all that is outside. I don't necessarily look at hiding as a negative. So again, it just depends on how you subjectively enter into hiding and refuge.
I like that. I really like that. And I'm going to let Todd come back on because I see he has something, but it was crazy. You got my dad to say something, Karrington, and he said he liked what you said about being alone. So
Amen.
Thanks for, I'm going to put the mic on Todd. He had something to add.
Yeah, I don't think we actually hide in toxic relationships because I don't know that we know that we're in one. I mean, we may be in a hiding space, but like with my marriage, I was commiserating. I was in the same hiding space as my husband, and I don't think we knew it was dysfunctional. I think what I was seeking was someone like me who was also having challenges, who was also insecure, who was also trying to find his completeness through someone else. It's not always a known thing. It wasn't until it was over that I realized that I had run out of places to hide and people to blame. You're in it. You're in it looking for someone because you want someone to love you and trust you and honor you and all these things, and that you can't have that without having it for yourself. So I think a lot of times I don't think we're necessarily hiding like, oh, let's go hide and do whatever. I think you're in that relationship, and because it's what you need or you think you need, you're just in it. So it may be a hiding place for sure, but I don't know that you're hiding. I think you're just operating in a space that's not healthy for you.
And I appreciate you providing that, because that's the reason why I asked that question, because I wanted to get to that. So I thank you for going there. One of the common themes in the book, and just about you in general, is about the power of words and how words are so important. My question to you is the catch and switch. So I talk a lot about a catch and switch. And what I mean by that is when we find ourselves being like in a negative space, that we catch that and then switch that into more of a positive thing. So my question for you is, how do our thoughts affect the words that we are speaking that are so powerful? Like what does that look like?
Well, I've spent a lot of my life in my head. um, I did isolate so much so that I was completely on full alert. I talk about in the book of being at DEFCON 2, DEFCON 1 being at war, 5 being the lowest, 1 being the highest level of alert. And I found myself being at DEFCON 2 all the time. I was so concerned about showing a kink in my armor. In fact, I thought that if I was perfect, no one would mess with me. It was my way of hiding. Like I'm not gonna argue with him. I'm not gonna pick at him. I'm not gonna assess him or engage with him. I was like, boom, and I worked diligently to be that way. Mind, body, everything. Every award I could get, every title I could get, every degree I could get, I got. And I just sat there in that, hoping that no one would find my secret, that no one would know what I thought, that I was less than or a fraud or an imposter. So our words become our actions. I mean, our thoughts become our words, and our words become our actions, and our actions become our legacy. And I think when you take a second and you process and think before you speak, you can change everything. You know, we walk around today with a storm inside us. A storm that started at 6:15 when I saw a news feed about something I didn't want to see. And I had no contact with anybody until 2 o'clock. And all of a sudden, boom, I unload on them. I hear something, I see something, I read something, and I just absorb it. I absorb that energy, and it just becomes this negative thing. And all of a sudden, it's going to be my words. I don't think we take time to really think about what we feel and articulate that into what we believe. And if we haven't done that, what we speak will not represent who we are, or what we want to be. And that's indicative of where we are today. We are literally just a storm of emotion. We don't stop and think, but that's what they want us to do. That's control. You know, when you're in a state of fear, when you're in a state of emotion, there's no rationale, there's no thought, there's no logic, there's no inclusivity. It's all about what I'm not and what I'm afraid of and what I can't and what I don't. That's what that's about.
Wow. We have a comment here from Ariana Cortez that said, Todd described my Facebook experience today. She also goes on to say, I don't speak on half of other trans or gay men. I know for me, I don't hide in relationships, but I do tend to hang on to men who aren't the one for fear there won't be another who will want me. And I need to be more like Karrington, #goals. Daniel says, loving all aspects of tonight. Oh my goodness, I need some new specs. It seems I've chosen one toxic relationship after another. I didn't realize that entering them, but my family and friends did right away. It was a warm and safe space initially, but under false pretenses. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. You're meeting a need that you think you need. And it's probably not. It's probably just based in fear. And if you think about that, if you break that fear down, there's probably no truth in it. You know, I'm not this, I'm not that. They don't like this, they don't like that. If you break that down, most of the time, there's no truth in that fear. But it's what you give it. You give it the energy. You make it true. You make it so. And therefore, they think it's so. I think fear really is just a manifestation of something we are unwilling or incapable of doing. So, but it becomes, I'm afraid of this, I'm afraid of that. Well, maybe you're afraid of just taking the steps to do these things. And it all comes back to us. Everything in life is a choice. Life is choice, change, choice, change. And a lot of times when we don't want to make those choices, fear manifests. Maybe the choice is to love and respect yourself enough to not be with that person, to not settle for that, because you don't need that. You deserve better.
That's so beautifully said. Thank you. And you know what? I will praise Todd all the time because the way he speaks, the way this book was written, I honestly feel like I'm going to read it again. And I was speaking to another friend of mine who I had sent the book to, and I said, what's so great about it is once you read it, you kind of know where things are. So, like, you can go back and flip through and reread that kind of bite size section. So, when we're talking about words, and we're obviously words make up a story. So, Karrington, what does it mean to own your story and walk in your truth? Uh-oh. Oh, you have to unmute yourself. There we go.
Okay, there we go. Okay, sorry. Um, so for me, right now I am currently in a transition with my words because of what is happening with Black Lives Matter and of course this wave of empathy that I think everyone sort of needs to take in and swallow that pill. For me, as a gay man and as a drag queen, we develop these lexicons and terms like bitch are used so explicitly, not maliciously, but just so flagrantly used in every term that as a gay man, I find myself taking that lexicon and transitioning it into my personal relationships with friends and family, and sometimes, and I catch myself just throwing that word around, and you just never really know how it makes that person feel. So for me, in regards to owning your story, you know, with the literature that I'm reading lately, we have only us. It's just us. This is the body I've got. This is what I've been given. I've been blessed to be here on this earth by the great energy source that provided me to be here. So owning your story is super important. I think that if we had the energy that we possessed growing up and had the relationships and the parenting that allowed us to have self-respect and self-awareness and to understand, like books Todd at the end says, I am the miracle I was hoping for. I think that can develop. There's just so many things that we as a humanity can achieve. There's so many successes that we haven't even tapped into because of the fact that we are dealt with the subconscious beliefs that our parents had from their parents, whose parents brought it from their parents, and it trickles down and it gets into our subconscious. And as children, especially gay men, we are drilled all of these subconscious beliefs based off of lessons that were taught from those who came before us. And so if we just stop that thinking, and if we stop instilling those negative beliefs onto our children and their children, there is no limit to what humanity can do. There is no reason for us to even have these discussions about Black Lives Matters or what is going on with this presidency and this country right now. So I think it is very important to be aware of the fact that your story is your own, your journey is your own, and you have nobody to answer to when it comes to who you are and who you wish to be. There's a quote that I choose to live by, and it's by Cher, who's my ultimate goddess. And she says, I only answer to two people, myself and God, and I don't give a shit about what anyone else thinks.
Well, I mean,
Boom.
there you have it. Right?
There you have it. So I think it's very important. So again, we right now are in a very transformative time, and I think it's up to us to be aware that this is an opportunity for us to reflect on what we've done, what we're going to do, and how we choose to pass that on.
And you know, one of the themes that I hear when you speak is, you know, about passing on, which comes from words. And one of the things that I want Todd to touch on is, because you used words so beautifully in your book, but Todd, talk to us a little bit about the use of words and why the way we use words are so important.
Well, to Karrington's point, we use the word bitch and some other things very very casually and very irresponsibly sometimes. I think, for example, when you're around a group of adults, are we always mindful that there's a child around, a 10-year-old, a 14-year-old even, a 5, a 6-year-old? I don't think we are. And I think there's a lot of hate and a lot of aggression, passive or otherwise, a lot of truth hidden in sarcasm and humor. And it's not funny. It's not funny. We say things all the time, and we forget that a 5-year-old doesn't know. I was listening to a radio station the other day, and they were talking about food. They were talking about the food that has gone away now, like they don't make tuna casserole anymore and these other things. And one of the hosts said, "Oh yeah, and you made that Brussels sprout thing," and it was just whatever. And she said, "Oh yeah, it was Vietnamese." He goes, "Vietnamese, disgusting." And then they laughed and blah 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 blah, and started talking about food. And I was just sitting and I thought, now if I'm a 5-year-old boy or a girl sitting at the dining room table doing my homework, and I hear Vietnamese disgusting, and 20 minutes later, mom says, "Should we have Chinese food tonight?" And they go, "No, they're disgusting." Yeah, it happens all the time. All the time. And when you say, "Oh, you fag," or "you sissy," or "you whatever," because you're on a basketball court or whatever, and the 14-year-old is questioning his sexuality, what have you done? What have you done? This book tells you what you've done. And the world can see it now. Pay attention to what you say and when you say it. It's not funny. And we must be mindful. Even today, we hear something on the radio and we just regurgitate it because it's from our camp, from our political party, from our church, or from our group of friends. And we just say it, blah, 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 because the emotion is right there like a tidal wave. And then someone says, "You know what, can you explain that?" And we find ourselves not being able to. Do you know why? Because it was the emotional response. We haven't taken time to articulate that thought and make it into our belief and be able to say, "This is why I believe it." We just ran our mouth. It needs to stop. It needs to stop. Words freaking matter.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. And that's one of the things that I really enjoyed about the book, with how the words were so beautifully put together that made it so easy to read. Karrington, I'm sure you feel the same way, because a lot of times, you'll get these books. So I'm trying to remove this comment. You'll get these books and you struggle to kind of get from one section to the next. But one of the things that I really appreciated about the way this book was written, it was written in these small segments that made it very easy to read and very difficult to put down. So as we begin to wind the show down, Karrington, I'd like to ask you to speak to that young person that's watching you right now, or watching the replay, or who will watch this, that says, "Wow, what Karrington said spoke to me. I want to be able to exude that confidence. I don't want to hide. I want to be able to live in my truth." What do you say to that young person?
I would just say that it is important for you to understand that no matter who tells you what they believe to be who they think you are, all that matters is that you are the only one on this planet. And there is not going to be anyone else like you, ever. And so I truly think that if I could see who I was back then and give that same advice, I would probably walk into a lot of different things more confidently, obviously. But I think that we just have to be self-aware that we are the only ones on this planet, and that are ourselves on this planet. And it is important for us to understand that just because someone conveys their fears and their reservations onto you does not make it the truth. Research, research everything, educate yourself, and find resources. There are so many LGBTQ resources now, more than ever than there was before. And I'm so grateful that these organizations have stepped up, and there is a level of resourcefulness for all of our LGBTQ plus allied youth. So take advantage of those resources and find people. when I moved away at 19, I had nobody. I didn't know any other gay people besides the aunts that I moved in with. And luckily, an organization here in Arizona called Valley 1 and 10, which helps LGBTQ youth, I started going with their groups and started, I developed an understanding that my life was meant for more than just being a gay kid. Gay people can be executives, they can be architects, they can be all these different things. You just have to find those people around you and feed upon their energy to keep you going to live the best life possible. And so I'm so thankful for Todd's book and what he's doing, because like I said, going back to what we discussed earlier, teens and kids only have what they see on TV. So growing up for me, gay men were just the hairstylists and the interior designers, or they were gay bashed or used as a comedy. They were used as a sidekick. So I think it's more important now, more than ever, that we use those resources and tap into them and take advantage of them and encourage people to vote. Vote, vote, vote. If you're watching this, vote. Register to vote. Do what you can. Work as a poll worker. Just do everything we can to make sure that you're part of this democratic process, because it is more vital than ever with everything going on. We need to take out the frustration we feel on the streets and put them in the seats. So get involved, get into public office, vote, register, do what you can, register to be a poll worker. My social media is constantly pushing all that stuff. So I encourage you all to follow me on social media as well.
Well, you brought me to my next point. How can people catch up with you or to follow you?
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook as Karrington Valenzuela, which you see on the bottom scroll. And then I'm also online on Facebook as Nevaeh Mackenzie. So it's Nevaeh and then Mackenzie, Mckenzie. I'm on Snapchat, I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook. So find me on those two profiles, get involved, and please, sign up to do everything you can for all of the Indigenous, Black and Brown people, trans community. We need people to get involved and get their communities involved, because like I said, take the anger from the streets and put that in the seats. So we need people to get voting and elect the officials that we want to see in those offices making those changes.
All right. Well, thank you, Karrington, so much for being a part of this show tonight. Just being able to get to know you over the last 4 weeks has been such a treat. And I am so excited to continue getting to know you and becoming your friend. Your energy is infectious and I absolutely love it.
Thank you very, very much. You sound much like my trainer. She's always trying to get me to slow down.
I love it. All right, Mr. Todd Kane. What do you say to that person? Or maybe, what do you say to that young person that's looking at you that's saying, wow, he went through all of that?
Well, thank you, Karrington, first of all. It's been fantastic being in the club with you and getting to know you. You work so hard in our community, and I really appreciate it. I think we all do. So thank you for that. I would say, first off, I think it's a little challenging because we really are fighting for identity right now. LGBTQIA, and then more added to it. And I get that. I understand how important that is, because we've been defined so many other ways, and we want to define ourselves. It is important to know who you are and what you're about. And it is important to find your tribe. But in the end, I believe we're all carbon and spirit. All carbon and spirit. And we are enough. Always have been and always will be.
Yeah.
So while you're trying to find your way, stop and navigate. Find people like us. Find resources, which there are on my website. Go and seek organizations that are specifically designed for you. No matter what you are or how you identify, there's an organization for you. It's very important. And they've been there. They've done it. Don't be afraid. There's no judgment. They welcome you with open arms because they've been there. The isolation part of hiding, I think, is the most tragic. The first thing we pull away from is probably the most loving and important source in our lives, which is our family. And they don't even know why, because we don't want them to. I talk about in the book how how it was difficult to even think that I was gay. And I thought for the longest time, I thought, you know, if someone would have just said, "Are you gay?" I think it would have been just as important as if they said, "I love you." I didn't know how to breach the conversation. I didn't know how to go there. I didn't have it in me because I was taught to be afraid. I was taught that that was something I shouldn't, wouldn't, and certainly couldn't be. That's wrong. I am perfectly and wonderfully made. I am a child of the universe. I am carbon. I am spirit. I am enough always. So don't be afraid. And if you are, find someone who will listen. There's someone out there. And if you need to, you can message me, you can message Norman, you can certainly message Karrington, because we're all full of love. And you are welcome in our tribe anytime.
Yes, yes. And Todd, just for those of the viewers that don't know, how can they reach you on social media?
I am Todd Kane. Instagram, Facebook, website.
Well, there you have it. Todd, I want to thank you, as I said to you before, for just being obedient and writing this book. If you do not have this book, you may find it at www. I put it in the comments. It is www.iamtoddkane.com/book. Get you a piece. Oh, wait, hold on. Todd has something. What did he say?
I was going to say, and if you're uncertain, there's no truth in that fear. Get that book.
No, get the book. Get the book. So personally, since I've started reading it, I know two of my close friends and another friend in Chicago have recently purchased it. It's easy to read. It's a great book. And I encourage you, no matter where you are on life's journey, to pick up a copy of this book. So that being said, y'all, you already know we have to rewind what we did in the beginning. So I want to thank my sponsors. Again, this is AJ Soul Kitchen and Hungry Hustle for their Infused Taco Tuesday. For next Tuesday, you can Instagram at AJ Soul Kitchen and at Hungry Hustle 420. This is next Tuesday. Pre-orders are strongly recommended. Also, I want to thank Fly the Promoter and Avion the Mogul. They have their event Drip Thursdays, which will be here in Las Vegas tomorrow, and it is reservation only. So for reservations, you can text reserve to 702-482-7207. And lastly, y'all, you know, I'm so excited about my Council of Gunkles, which is starting next week. Me, Daniel Bakley, Adrian Hayes, Brian Murphy, all the original Quarantini Time crew are coming back just to kiki with you. And we are so excited to do so. Listen, friends, you already know who it is, but I don't mind giving you a slight reminder. It's your best friend, your good Judy, your next door neighbor, your niece, your nephew, your great auntie, and now your gunkle, honey. My name is Norman J. Liverpool IV. Thank you for tuning in for another edition of What's the LGBT? Bye.